ESPN NBA analyst Tim Legler joining us on the show. I'll save my bombshell question for you. I got to get to the Celtics last night against the Miami Heat. And why do I get the feeling this is going to go 7 games, Tim?
I'm actually kind of feeling that a little bit myself. You heard the Celtics say, "Don't let us get one." Basically, they were warning the Heat. Now, don't let us mess around and figure this thing out, because then you got a problem on your hands, because we were the 2 seed, and for probably the first 2.5 months of the season, they were clearly the best team in the NBA. So it's there. They've had a hard time finding it consistently since that time, and certainly in the playoffs, they've had some very flat performances. But now you really do feel like they're going to win Game 5. I don't know if it's going to get all the way to 7, Dan. I could see the Heat winning this in 6 games,
okay,
and getting very dicey, like a fourth quarter, 1-possession game in a Game 6. Jimmy Butler probably making some plays in that game to win it late. But there's no doubt that things have gotten much more interesting all of a sudden.
You've been around the game a long, long time, and there's certain players that they play bigger, better, the bigger the game. Maybe during the regular season. We don't talk about Jimmy Butler during the regular season, but we certainly do the postseason. Reggie Miller was another player who got you 18 or 19 a game, and then in the postseason could go off. Can you think of other players who have that ability to be big in big games?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, I'd look at even a guy like Jamal Murray, as one of those guys. He seems to relish that moment. And actually, there's something different about him even this year. He looks like he's ticked off, because every night he takes the court, we're going to talk a lot about Jokic, obviously. Every team they play, for the most part, probably has 2 stars on it. And we talk a lot about the stars in the game. And I think Jamal Murray takes that personally. In the Phoenix series, he's out there and saying, okay, you got KD, we got Jokic, we know what those guys are. And then Devin Booker is getting so much love, and deservedly so. The guy was playing out of his mind. But I'm on that level. And I think he's had this sort of edge to him every night that bodes well for Denver, because in the regular season, Jamal Murray's a very good player. Jamal Murray can be sensational in big moments in the postseason. So I think in terms of guys currently in the league, he'd be a good example.
But what is it about Jimmy Butler that makes other teams nervous?
Well, here's the thing. They know for a fact Jimmy Butler is always going to be in the right place mentally. Like, at no point is Jimmy Butler's confidence going to waver. Is he going to be a guy that just doesn't have it on a given night? Jimmy Butler's the kind of guy you're going to have to kill him to stop him. And he's so mentally tough that no matter what the moment or the circumstances or the amount of pressure, Jimmy Butler is not going to be shaken by that. And some guys, they look like they lose their confidence a little bit. They change their aggressiveness. They're not quite the same for whatever reason. Jimmy Butler's never like that. Even on nights he doesn't mean he's going to shoot well every night. Some nights he might just not shoot well. It's not because he's feeling the moment or anything's a little bit too big for him. And I think that's why teams get nervous about him. And also, he can get to anywhere on the floor that he needs to play to his wheelhouse. He can get to that mid-range area of the floor anytime he wants.
Tim Legler, ESPN NBA analyst, joining us on the program. The change or changes you would make to the Lakers roster in the offseason?
Oh, man, first of all, they're going to have to – I think they need to add guys that are more consistent shooters. And if you sacrifice a little bit defensively to do that, I think it's important, because, first of all, the league is not set up anymore to be a league that you can maul people and get physical and just get into teams and defend them. You're going to have to get to a certain number most nights. And when you look at the Western Conference in particular, what Denver can do every night offensively with Phoenix, that they're going to reload. Those teams are getting to 115, 120 points regularly. So can you get to that number? So all the great defense, and we talked about a lot with the Lakers, and being this long team, and they're athletic, and they're going to be able to bother Denver. Got news for you. Denver shot splits of basically 50, 40, 80 as a team. Okay, so as an individual player, for people listening, right, if you go 50 from the field, 40 from the three, 80 from the line, I did that a couple of times. I was a 50-50, 80 guy a couple of times. right? That's a hell of a year or a hell of a series if one guy does that.
Yeah.
Imagine a whole team doing that. And that's what they just did to the Lakers. That's how efficient they were. So the Lakers need to add shooting, I think, as their top priority. Look, Kyrie, this talk is going to be there all summer. I'm not a Kyrie Irving guy. I think he brings an awful lot to a team that's not necessarily going to move you in the right direction. The talent's undeniable. But this might be the one situation I'd say that team probably needs a guy like Kyrie Irving, and LeBron probably needs Kyrie Irving.
What did you make of LeBron's post-game comments?
I heard you setting this up saying, he needs a hug. I thought that made me laugh because when I'm watching it, what I'm thinking is this. I don't care if it's LeBron James or any athlete or any person in any walk of life that you just poured your heart and soul into something for 8 months and it ends in a terribly frustrating manner. You feel almost inept against the team that beat you. That's not the right time to get asked the question. It's certainly not the right time to answer a question like that because in the moment, you feel nothing other than, I just want to get away from the damn game right now. And he's going to go, and it's going to be more frustrating for the next 2 weeks to watch the finals. He's not participating. Now, let it get removed a few weeks from that. Now he's going on vacation. He spent time with his family. He's back in the gym a little bit. His body feels great after getting a month off from the regular season. He's going to have a completely different tune when you get to the middle of July. There is absolutely no question in my mind. LeBron James isn't going anywhere. And, and even the Bronny thing, we build that up. I don't know how much that's what is going to drive him to continue to play. I just don't think he wants to go out the way he just went out more than anything else. He doesn't want to end on that note. So he's going to, I think, reload his mind, get his body feeling better, and you're going to see LeBron James ready to go next year.
I was serious when I said he needs a hug because then he's saying I'm better than 90% of the players. Like, you don't need to say that.
Right.
Like we'll say that for you. We don't, right. He doesn't need to. And it's almost like he wanted somebody to kind of just boost his spirits or his ego a little bit because he just got swept.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, guys need that, right? They need to be stroked, guys on that level. And ironically, I think he actually shortchanged himself. It's probably more like 97% of the guys in the league he's still better than. But yeah, I think he needed a little bit of, little validation in that moment because they just got swept by a team that's got right now the best player in the NBA. It was interesting, though. The one thing that is interesting, Dan, in hearing him say that percentage, whatever you want to say, he could have said 99%. And what is he really saying? He's not necessarily the best player anymore. And I think that's the first time that LeBron James has ever sort of acknowledged that. And when you get swept by a team that has the best player in the league on it, it sort of reminds you of that in the moment, that they're going to need more help. It used to be LeBron would say, hey, I'll take whatever you got and I'll take my chances. Now I think he realizes that there are teams out there that are going to be loaded that he's going to need a little bit more to compete with.
Would you consider trading Anthony Davis?
I would definitely consider trading Anthony Davis. There's no question in my mind. I think everybody around the league is going to feel the same way about Anthony Davis that we do every night watching him and analyzing him. The guy's a difference maker, clearly. There's no real matchup for Anthony Davis. There's not an answer for him. He's a total game changer defensively when he's active. But do you want to sign up for that and like guarantee that you're going to get like 50 games of that every year? And in the postseason, you'll get it, more than probably every other night. That's probably selling him a little bit short. But let's say you get it 65% of the time in the postseason, and he's your second best player. Is that enough? Are you going to be happy with that? So I just wonder what people would genuinely be willing to give up for Anthony Davis, knowing at some point he's going to miss a large chunk of time in the regular season for an injury. And then you're not exactly sure if he's going to leave his house every day in the playoffs intent on coming to the arena and doing some serious damage. Because I don't know that he always gets himself there mentally.
I was looking for a comp. We love to have comps with players. Like that guy reminds me of, and I was thinking about Joker and Brad Daugherty. I don't know if that's a fair comp, but just the ability to play high, low, in, out, pass. Daugherty, I always thought was one of the more underrated players that I saw play. But you got a comp for Jokic?
I don't have a comp for him because I think about this all the time. He's usually pretty good at coming up with that. And I've been asked this question, and I've racked my brain. And I'm also kind of like a historian of the game, and I'm old enough that I know all the eras. He's so unique in that. I was thinking about this last night as I get ready to break down the finals whenever they get their matchup. I don't care who comes out of the East. Denver's going to win the championship. And the reason is because there's no personnel, scheme, or defensive energy, amount of defensive energy that affects Jokic. He's not affected by it. You put a smaller guy on him that's athletic, he makes those guys look silly because he just overwhelms them with his size and touch. You put a bigger guy on him, well, now you got to chase him all over the perimeter while he runs 87 dribble handoffs and picks and pops and spends so much time on the perimeter that he makes bigs like a fish out of water out there guarding him so much. You can't scheme him because you can't double him effectively anywhere on the floor because of his size and his mind in reading where the ball should go and then getting it there with velocity. So it beats the defense. It beats the closeout. It beats the rotation. So there's not a matchup that you can come up with. Even nights when he doesn't shoot well, and those are rare because he shoots such a high percentage, he does have nights like that, and he's still the most dominant player on the floor. He's controlling the game to such an extent. And I can't think of another player his size particularly that can do all of the things that he can do.
All right, I'll leave you with this. Will the Lakers retire LeBron James's number?
Oh, no question. No question. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I'm just saying the standard for getting your jersey retired has been dramatically diminished. Okay? It's a pretty saturated jersey retirement.
Yeah, but these are the Lakers, though, Legs.
That doesn't matter. Yeah, I know they're the Lakers, but that's LeBron James. Like, you had a guy that, in my opinion, I think probably yours. I don't know. You put LeBron number 2, cemented at number 2 all time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do I. And I think, hate to say it for him, but I think he could win 2 or 3 more championships. I probably still have him cemented at number 2. Like, he can't. That's why when we were talking about the LeBron Curry matchup, like, who can help their legacy more?
Yeah.
I said, well, LeBron James has been like, he's been like flex sealed into the number 2 spot, right? Like, you can't move it. I don't think there's any upward mobility, and he's not getting caught from behind, at least not by anybody we can see right now. Curry, he's still grabbing rungs on the ladder, I feel like, which is pretty amazing at this stage of his career. So I just feel like LeBron cemented at number 2. He wore a Lakers jersey. You had that guy in-house for however many years it's going to be. Was it been 4 years now? How many years is LeBron?
Year 5.
Oh, year 5. Okay. Let's say he plays 7 years for the Lakers.
Okay.
And he won a championship there.
Mm-hmm.
And even if he never gets another one, and he's the second greatest player to ever play, that thing's going up there. There's no question in my mind.
Well, it is Hollywood, and they celebrate their stars, so I understand that you would want to have a night for LeBron when it's all said and done. I get that. It just feels like, the Laker fans don't look at LeBron as one of them. Like, he's not a true Laker. And I understand that, and he did give you a championship. I just don't know. My feeling is that there would probably be pushback of, does he deserve to be in the rafters?
Were you talking about pushback from the fan base?
Yeah.
Well, that might be true, but I think ultimately the organization is going to want to do that because you never even know. They might have aspirations down the road of having a guy with LeBron's mind and in your front office or part of the organization.
Oh, he's going to get his own team. He's going to get it. Yeah. He'll get the team in Vegas.
That's probably true. That's probably what he'll end up doing.
Or maybe he takes over Jordan's team in Carolina.
Yeah, that would be something. And then maybe he's thinking, I'll buy Charlotte. Yeah. And then I'll win a championship in Charlotte. That might be the one way I can supplant Michael.
That would be it.
As being the greatest of all time.
Good to visit with you as always, Legs. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. Anytime.
And one of the great shooters in NBA history, Tim Legler, their ESPN analyst.